He watched the ancient videotapes crackle and thought about his parents' younger days. They were young. They were delighted. He spotted it when he looked back at the television. His face drained as terror paralyzed him. The weird man in the old videotape reached out to his mum, and he saw his rich and strong watch. But his attempted smile revealed his horrible mask. Mark Welling, 35, had a tough day cleaning out his parents' San Francisco home. Only child, Mark loved his parents. After his father died, he couldn't go through their stuff. Since he was selling the house, he had to face it. Mark remembers a happy childhood. His parents rarely fought and loved him unconditionally. He knew he was lucky to have loving parents he could trust. He would soon discover that not everything was as it seemed. 9-year-old Mark's mother disappeared. The police opened a case, but without leads, it died. Mark lived with his grandparents while his father isolated himself. Closure eluded him for years. His father's estate automatically passed to him as an only child. Over the years, he had other people take care of the house because it creaked under the weight of his childhood memories. He watched the old wedding tape, smiling at how young and in love his parents were, but then things turned dark. The eerie figure smiled. Mark had left this house years earlier. He left to organize and store everything. That day, he left crying, and this time, for the wrong reasons. Mark soon rummaged through old videotapes. One was unlabeled. If you like my videos, don't forget to like or subscribe. Thanks in advance. Mark was curious enough to play the unlabeled videotape. It was his parents' wedding video. Why was this unlabeled? Why wasn't he aware? The wedding delighted Mark. He saw his aunts and uncles after years. They were young and happy. Then it kept filming another man. He appeared close to his parents. Mark recognized him. Fear overcame him. Who? His mom looked uneasy as the footage continued. His mom was staring at one of his dad's best men behind him. That strange man again. His mother started crying and shouting at the altar. His father intervened and his parents fought at their wedding altar before the video cut out. Mark was astonished. Mark remembered his parents' unusual behavior well. Since they never mentioned anything like this on their wedding day, he needed to know what happened. He sought clues. He sensed the strange man caused the tension but didn't know why. He grabbed another tape and shivered. The 1st of October 1986, birth video. Mark was born and sleeping in his mom's arms, but that man was back in the room with his parents. However, they seemed like a big happy family this time. Friends? Happening? Why did he feel so bad? Then he remembered. In the video, he saw the man's watch as he held him. The watch was unforgettable. Splendid. A watch that advertised his wealth. A strong man. He watched as the man lifted him to share a kiss on his forehead, and shuddered at his deceitful appearance. Mark suddenly realized that a box of forgotten encounters with this man was hidden in his memory. He paused the video and examined his neat suit and haircut. He was spotless. He was so polite and respectful that no one would have suspected him. The man was Gerald, his estranged uncle. His parents called him that. He was wealthy and attended family events like birthdays. He always brought big presents and a smile. He stopped attending family events when Mark was young, maybe 5. Mark never knew why. His fate. Why was Mark uncomfortable looking at him? Mark's mother always avoided talking about Uncle Gerald once he stopped dropping by. He remembered a soft voice telling him not to ask about him again. Mark knew he wasn't kind and generous. He suddenly realized. He recognized him. On a 1980s crime show rerun, Mark saw an identikit sketch of the man. He was a San Francisco robber and gangster. Everything clicked. Mark stopped breathing and froze. Mark assumed that his mom found out what he was doing on her wedding day and couldn't contain her emotions at the altar based on her character. Mark searched for him on Google. He discovered he was arrested before birth. They couldn't keep him long. Uncle Gerald was James Kern, a fugitive from North Carolina who escaped from a prison bus in 1977. The convict had waited at the back of the bus until it stopped by a forest before making a run for it. He rebuilt his life and identity. Uncle Gerald started his 10-year bank robbery sentence. After falling in with a bad crowd in his youth, he had been tempted into committing more and more serious crimes as time passed. He lived the high life until he was arrested and sentenced. Did he cause his mother's disappearance? Mark dialed 911 slowly, sweating. Mark gave the FBI the tapes without knowing if they would help solve the case. He felt strange as his world turned upside down. At 9, his mother vanished. He had to face an unsettling thought: what if everything he knew was a lie? Mark wanted to solve the mystery despite the tenuous link. What if his parents were entangled in Uncle Gerald's crime? He found reports of sightings of the FBI's most wanted man late at night. Before appearing in Mark's life, the FBI assumed the man had changed his name and possibly had several aliases. Does that mean his mother may still be alive? Mark imagined meeting her again before hardening. His teardrop fell. She left him. Perhaps her disappearance was sinister. Mark's Uncle Gerald. Was he guilty? What for? Mark's father, the only person who could provide answers, was dead. After Mark moved in with his grandparents, they barely spoke. Mark's new information reopened James Kern's case and Mark's mother's disappearance. The FBI alerted every state using new technology to age their identikit sketches. 21,894 U.S. women are missing in cold cases. New evidence can reopen cold cases. Carl, Mark's father, only spoke vaguely about his wife's disappearance. Mark was 9. On his parents' 20th wedding anniversary, his mother Sylvia left. Last seen, she was smiling and surrounded by friends. That was meaningless now. Mark's parents celebrated their milestone anniversary in the church parish hall with 100 guests. We were wrapping bottles in gold foil and decorating before the party, and Sylvia was pretending she was an opera singer, said Sylvia's cousin. That was her always. She loved people and playing. Others saw it differently. Janet, Sylvia's sister, informed the police. She said family members had heard Uncle Gerald and Carl threatened Sylvia's life several times. Sylvia requested that the police not be notified. Janet said Carl drank too much. His drinking and behavior had spiraled before their 20th anniversary. Mark forgot the anniversary. After the church ceremony, his parents threw a wild party at home. To let the adults drink and dance, Mark and the other kids went to bed early. Mark spent the night with his grandparents. His grandparents hosted him often. There was another discrepancy. Sylvia called Matt, her out-of-state brother, that night, police records show. After arguing with Carl after the party, she called him to pick her up. Matt arrived after she left. He threatened her, Matt said. If that happens, promise me you'll take care of Mark, she said. I replied, yes. I replied, that's not going to happen. He never saw her again. The man and Mark's mom's disappearance remain unsolved. According to a police spokesman's press release, the strange reopened case remains unsolved. Police cannot speculate what happened to the woman. Another potential evidence vanished. Mark listed his parents' house 6 months after the discovery. It sold for under $400,000 weeks later. At the moment, it's unclear whether or not the new owners know the mysterious history of the home, or if there are more discoveries to be found within. Mark's chances of solving his mother's disappearance are diminishing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.